Hello, in this short video, I'll show you how to use the List Standardizer tool, which will allow you to compile one master list in a standard format from any number of different sources. It's a powerful tool that takes seconds to use, and will save you from all those headaches you get from going back and forth between different data lists, or trying to clean them up and standardize them manually. With this tool, you can take 10, 20, even hundreds of lists, all from different sources, and combine them into one master data list. Let's show you how this works. First, we'll open up the List Standardizer tool, and if it asks us to enable macros, we'll go ahead and do so that the tool can run. Now let's say that we have 5 different lists of property records here. We've got 3 from successors data, which are all formatted the same. In each case, there's the owner's name, the property address, the mailing address, and so on. We've got a list from probateleads.com, which is formatted a bit differently and has other types of data. And we've got another list from AreaZoom, which is also formatted a bit differently. This tool can be used with any number of lists from any source, but we'll just use these 5 lists to keep it simple and show you how it works. Let's start by importing our first list. We'll click Browse, select the first data file from successors data, and we'll make sure that this option is checked. This will create a new column in our master list that tells us which file the data is coming from. So even if we have 20 different sources, we can always see immediately what the source is. We'll import that list, and done. Now we'll come back to the Start tab. And in the left column here, we see all of the data fields that are in the data records we just imported. These are all of the fields in that list. And along this row here, these are the fields that we can add to our master list that we're about to create. So in this case, let's say that we want to compile a master data list so we can send out mailings. So we'll want to include the full name, which is the ownership name in our successors data file. We want the address column in our master list to refer to the property address data we have in our successors data list, and the property city, state, and zip. And for the mailing address column in our master list, we want the mailing address info from successors data. On the right, we can also include phone numbers, email, and even a column for notes. If we like, we can also add custom fields here that will show up in our master list. But for now, let's just say that this is all the data we want to include in our master list. But before we run the tool, however, let's do one last thing here. Let's say that we get data records from successors data every 2 weeks, so we'll be regularly updating our master list with new records. To save us a bit more time, we can save this current data record map as a preset. We'll just click Save Preset, and name the preset Successors Data. Now every time we bring in a file from Successors Data, we can just load that preset, and the fields we want to include in the master file will be selected and ready to go. Now we'll click Process, and the tool has now created a master list with all that data. But we're not done yet. We also want to import our list from AreaZoom. So we'll go ahead and do that. We'll browse, select the AreaZoom data, and import. And we can see that this list is formatted a bit differently, and has some columns that the other list did not have. We'll come back to the Start tab, and in the left-hand column here, we can see that we have all those fields. Some are the same or similar to our other list, and some are completely unique. Again, we'll simply map which data fields from this AreaZoom list we want to show up in our standardized master list. Like before, we want the ownership column from that list to show up as the full name in our master list. And for the property address columns, AreaZoom has named them simply address, city, state, and zip. And the AreaZoom owner address data is the mailing address. And like before, let's save this AreaZoom data map as its own preset. So every time we bring in a new AreaZoom list, we can just load the preset and not have to map this out. And we'll process this data into the master list. We'll now do the same for our probateleads.com list. Browse, import, map which data fields we want to show up in our master list, and save this as a preset since we regularly get new data from probateleads.com and will often be updating our master list. Process. Finally, let's go ahead and do the same for our 2 remaining lists. Just browse, select the file, And in this case, it's another successor's data file, so we'll load that map as the preset. Process. And browse. Select our last successor's data file. And process. Great, now all of that data is loaded up into one master file. Let's click Export Archive to generate it. And in the folder where the tool is stored, we see a new folder named Files. We'll open it, and we can see that we have each of the lists that we processed, as well as a standardized master list here that contains all of the data. Let's open that. And we see that all of our data is clean and organized perfectly. And here on the left, we have that new column that tells us which file each line of data came from. So imagine how much time that would have taken to try and do all of that compiling manually, especially if you have new data records coming in all the time from different sources. Furthermore, back in the tool, we can also generate a file that will show us common mailings. That is, mailing address data that is common between files or duplicate records. In this case, our 5 lists contained no duplicates, so when we generate that file, it's actually empty. But it's not always the case that your data sets from different sources don't contain the same property ownership records. If they do, then you can find them easily with this feature. Again, you can get data lists from any source, like successorsdata.com, from probateleads.com, from anywhere. And you can compile it into a clean, standardized master list in seconds. From there, you can take that list to IQ Dial, for instance, and just load up that one master list. And we'll ask IQ Dial to append any missing phone numbers. Clean and easy. If you would like more tools, or would like us to custom tailor a tool to work with another website, just get in touch with us at easyexcelautomation.com, and we'd be happy to develop something for you.